Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to review UFC 300, also PFL 2. I did not get to see PFL 2. My internet on Friday went out and was out for, I think it came down to like 17 hours before tech support managed to fix the problem. So didn't end up getting to watch PFL 2. Haven't seen it yet. Was told there was some good things. Was told there was some terrible production. So par for the course. I was wrong on a couple of things. I thought Ipa Kasang and I would lose to Alex Polizzi. That did not happen. Rob Wilkinson did beat Tom Breeze with a shoulder strike of all things to rock him. Clay Collin versus Patricky Pitbull apparently was dope, which expected. Michael Dufour beat Mads Burnell. So two of my tournament winners have now gone down. Josh Silvaria defeated Sadabusi with a somewhat freak injury to his seized thumb. Antonio Carlos Jr. won. Yagshamirdov apparently performed really, really well against Jacob Nadeau. I want to go see that at some point. Brett Primus beat Bruno Miranda. Rabadanov defeated Solomon Renfo. Elvin Espinoza had a cool flying knee knockout against Adam Piccolotti in a fight that he was, I am told, losing the entire time. And Marcelo Nunez submitted Jordan Heidemann. So how many losses is that? That's, I think, 3 losses. One lost on Piccolotti, lost on Burnell, and lost in the main event. So pretty good, 8-3 overall, but I am down to 4 championship contenders, unfortunately. So PFL 3 will be coming up. Hopefully I'll get to watch that one in its full and live and give it a little bit of attention on social media and so on. Like I said, the PFL fights have been very, very good. Like the in-cage action and the roster quality of PFL is very good. It's just the commentary, the production, the fact that the promotion seems to be run in an incredibly poor manner that really kind of limits how good it can be and how much I'm enjoying it. I'd still recommend giving it a watch. Mostly because, I mean, let's be honest here. It's on ESPN Plus. You might as well. You're paying for it anyways. Go for it. And let's move on to UFC 300. So we opened up with the main event of Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. And this fight was to me very much a toss-up going into it. I was like, you know what? Jamal Hill can absolutely knock out Yuri Prochazka. Not Yuri Prochazka. Alex Pereira. Although, to be clear, I am recommending Jamal Hill fight Yuri Prochazka next, and that's probably why the misspeak there. And I'll give you a preview if that fight happens. That will be my pick. One of them is getting knocked out. I'll probably go with Yuri, but it really isn't a fight that I have any strong feelings about. Which is why it was so weird in the lead up to this that a lot of MMA Twitter, betting Twitter, all that stuff, they were very, 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 very certain Jamal Hill would win. Not collectively, obviously, Pereira was the favorite and everything. But there was a lot of people who were swearing up and down, oh no, Jamal Hill's got super good footwork. He's got once in a lifetime power. He's got all of these things. And it's based on what exactly? I honestly never really, I don't understand the Jamal Hill hype. Don't get me wrong. Very dangerous fighter. Very, very, very dangerous fighter. Very athletic, powerful, explosive, fast, big guy for the division. Do not get me wrong. He could beat literally anyone at 205, and I would not be surprised. But the rest of those accoutrements just never really made any sense. What fight had great footwork? What once-in-a-lifetime power sees you go 25 minutes with Glover Teixeira, for example? I know Glover Teixeira is a super tough guy and everything, but Glover Teixeira in his 40s went 5 rounds with Jamal Hill, lost, but did not get knocked out. It's not like he's impossible to knock out. Rumble Johnson, Gustafsson, both did it. So I didn't really understand. I didn't understand that take, I guess is what it comes down to. I fully never really understood the Jamal Hill. I don't want to say fans because it's not a fan thing. It's the Jamal Hill, someone on Twitter called it the Jamal Hill truthers. And those were the guys I didn't really understand. The guys who were just making him into something more than he is. And then we get to the fight, and for one thing, I have in my notes here at one point where I'm just they have traded back-to-back calf kicks 5 times. what is Hill's plan? Because in the lead up, he was talking about being able to counter the calf kick. He was talking about how to punish Pereira for Pereira's signature, what has become Pereira's signature style of offense, anyways. And it's just not there. It's just like kick, 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 kick. There were some counters. There was a right hand kick counter to a body kick by Jamal Hill that was pretty good. But then Pereira is starting to walk him down. Hill may or may not have kicked him low. I'm not entirely sure. We didn't really get a replay of it. And then when he does that, Pereira waves out the referee like, no, we ain't stopping this. And then just decks him with a hook. And yeah, don't get me wrong. Again, I if you pick Jamal Hill, I'm not crapping on it. I pondered it myself. But there was like a weird level of like Jamal Hill belief in things that I don't think I've ever seen him do that people were loving. And I didn't get it. I did not understand. So when Pereira melted him, I don't want to say I was vindicated because like I wasn't even super confident in picking him. I was like, you know what? These two guys are both like defensively liable to get knocked out and stuff. But there you go. Pereira, W, victory. Wants to fight at heavyweight. Why not? I don't have a lot of good things to do with him at 205 is really the kind of the problem because Yuri Prochazka earlier in the night, and we'll get to this in more detail, but he beat Alexander Rakic, and that's a fight we've already seen. It's a fight I'd be very, very down to see again, but I'm not dying to see it again. And then, of course, you have Jamal Hill, who he just beat, and then there's not really much else. Like, the fact that I have Prochazka versus Hill as my matchup at 205, it's like Magomed Ankalaev would be the only option as a title contender. And the UFC seems deeply unhappy with Magomed Ankalaev, and I'm pretty deeply unhappy with Magomed. Not really, but like, Ankalaev comes with like a lot of like negative attachments, associations that I don't really want to deal with and can be a very, very boring fighter. So I guess you could do what else you got for Tom Aspinall. You could do Pereira, 205 champion versus interim champion Tom Aspinall because John Jones is a bitch. I said it. And I don't actually mean that, but like the whole idea that like people are like super, super cool with John Jones pursuing legacy fights to me is just very lame. I've kind of said this. I don't care about legacy if it doesn't come with fighting the best. I don't care, and I don't care, and on a fighter point of view, I don't care about legacy when it doesn't pay the fighters. Like that's what I said. It's again, I like Stipe Miocic. I appreciate the fighter that is John Jones, not the how should I put this? POS that is John Jones. But in the cage, John Jones, appreciate the GOAT status fighter, but I don't want to see them fight each other. I have zero interest in it. So, I mean, Pereira versus Jones, that would be dope, but that would be robbing Aspinall. So, in the world we live in where John Jones is not going to fight Tom Aspinall, you could do Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall, and I'd have no problem with it. It's heavyweight. It's pretty thin. Co-main event, Weili Zhang versus Xiaonan Yan. This was a surprisingly competitive fight, to be honest, because I honestly thought Weili Zhang would just steamroll. Like, I thought that this would not be particularly close. But Yan had some big moments. They're only crediting her with one knockdown on UFC stats, but I'm pretty sure the answer was 2. But in the first round, Yan's immediately doing some pretty good things at range with her striking. And I think she hit one of her foot sweeps here, if I'm not very much mistaken. She landed this foot sweep a couple of times. I'm just looking at my notes here. Did one come in the first round? I don't think so. Okay, maybe not in the first round. But she was doing some great things. She clipped Zhang with a left hook that ended up putting her to the canvas. Though Zhang did do like the spin through, got back up. So I'm wondering if that didn't get counted as a knockdown. I think it probably should have. But basically, outside of a really good calf kick, Zhang was doing Xiaonan Yan. Man, I'm really going to have a hard time breaking these two down with the Yan versus Zhang deal. Xiaonan Yan was doing quite well, but then she got taken down, ended up getting her back taken, and got caught in a rear naked choke that she got saved by the bell. And they were like, of course, you're not saved by the bell. I would still argue you are saved by the bell. I understand that the technical definition is you have to be able to get back up and if you can't get back up, then the bell hasn't saved you. I get that, but if Weili Zhang had been allowed to hold that submission for 2, 3, 4 more seconds, she was out. So I would say saved by the bell. And into the second round, things get really, really bad for Zhang Yan. Zhang really taking over, getting the back, putting her in all kinds of trouble. This is a 10-8 round, in my opinion. Ground and pound, working for an arm triangle, working for a rear naked choke. The only thing I will say is that Yan did manage, with about 35 seconds left, to just power out of the arm triangle somehow and ended up on top. I was saying, like, she did almost everything wrong and still succeeded. So I think I have to reevaluate my thoughts on Zhang Yan's, like, beast potential. Just like how strong she is. But she got outlanded like almost 10-1, 66-7 total strikes, 54-4 significant strikes, 3 minutes and 51 seconds of top control. They only gave one significant submission attempt, which I guess works. The arm triangle, I imagine. But it was a 10-8 round for Weili Zhang. And then in the third round, she comes out and she actually starts doing well again. This is the round that they officially credit Zhang Yan with a knockdown, and she stopped the takedowns, kept the fight kind of at range. Still got outlanded 39-33, but, did her thing, had the control advantage, and this was her type of fight. And then the fourth and the fifth round, she just could not keep it up. She got taken down for 3+ minutes in both rounds, got beaten up, and, Weili Zhang takes a unanimous 49-45 decision. I don't know, it's kind of like one of those weird ones where, like, the fight seems actually way closer than the scorecard would indicate, because Yan had some big moments with the foot sweeps and with the I would say 2 knockdowns and some good, like, strikes landed and so on. Like, it was a better performance than I was expecting from her. But Weili Zhang did take her to school eventually. Like, the grappling deficiencies are just too pronounced for her to, I think, be a strawweight champion. Bantamweight you could do, but strawweight, no. You do need to be more capable, or just, like, completely unable to be taken down. I will say the commentary in this fight absolutely stunk. It was divorced from the actual fight, I thought, at many, many points, and just from reality, because they were trying to really big up Zhang Yan as a knockout artist. And I want to make something quite clear, and I put it out on Twitter. If you look at Zhang Yan's record, that is not the case. She has one, put up one finger, one knockout in the UFC. Granted, it's a very, very cool one. It's the knockout over Jessica Andrade. It's dope. But did not finish Mackenzie Dern, did not finish Claudia Gadelha, did not finish a 2022 version of Karolina Kowalkiewicz, did not finish Angela Hill, did not finish Siri Kondo, did not finish Viviane Pereira, did not finish Kaylin Curran, who is not good. Kaylin Curran is quite bad. One of, like, I would say the worst, like, UFC fighters we've ever really seen. Granted, it only got finished once somehow, by strikes. Twice by submission, but once by strikes. And then, like, yeah, a couple of knockouts on the regional scene. Like, Jan's whole thing is that, like, realistically, listen to this regional record. 18-10, Emily Fugino, that was in Road FC. 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-1, 0-0, 0-1, 2-2, who she lost to. 1-0, 2-1. So the commentary going on and on and on and on about her knockout artist, I understand. The woman has power, and her counter game can be nasty. She can hurt people. But the fact that she has one knockout really should have precluded that commentary through line the entire time. But they were beating it over the head repetitively. Boom, boom, boom. And yeah, Weili Zhang got the job done. It was scarier than it probably should have been. There was some, I don't know, there's some weird corner advice that, like, the calf kick was working, and I understand that it was getting countered a fair bit, but I think the problem with Zhang's calf kick is that there wasn't anything covering it. It's like it was divorced in its own little world. So when they told her to keep kicking, like, high but abandon the calf kick, I thought that was wrong. It's like, I would hope that this leads to a correction, where just simply put, Weili Zhang's calf kicks get better, not in impact, but in the fact that they are supported by the rest of her game at some point. That would be nice. After the fight, not much was said. Honestly, Zhang's post-fight promos are not amazing. She, did encourage people to, go to China. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But she'll fight Tatiana Suarez, assuming Suarez can stay healthy. And for Zhang and Yan, I've got Amanda Lemos. Probably because, that's probably the battle of, the two most overrated power knockout artists in all of women's MMA, because the UFC loves to talk about Lemos being a knockout artist as well. And I'm not really sure that that's a thing that, again, the results really particularly back up. Again, hard hitter, don't get me wrong. Knocked out Marina Rodriguez. Very, very, very cool. Knocked out Montserrat Ruiz. Knocked out Lavina Souza. There are things there. There's more there, but kind of like Zhang Yan, they really kind of blow it out of proportion. And then we get to the BMF belt, which was Max Holloway putting on a heck of a show. This was a insane fight. Did this one fight? Hang on. Bonuses, please. Yep, fight of the night. And then performance of the night went to Yuri Prohaska. And that's it. Only 3 bonuses. That is lame. So the big 300K bonuses really didn't go as far as I would have liked. Did they announce beforehand that there would only be 1 performance of the night? I guess. I don't know. Probably. Someone did the numbers broken down. And it's like a ridiculously low percentage if they were just do 300K bonuses in general. So I am pro. Maybe not doing 300K, but God, man, we got to get rid of the 50K. At least bump that up to 6 figures. Give me 100K bonuses. Boom. 75K at least. You used to do 75K back when that was a lot more money. So there you go. Anyways, for the fight itself, Gaethje just got worked. He was, competitive. He was in the game. Don't get me wrong. This was an exciting fight, but he got hurt multiple times. And aside from a really, really functioning calf kick, he did not have answers. It wasn't until the 4th round that he started really working behind a jab, which again is the frustration of Gaethje. He has a good jab. He just doesn't use it. He just ignores it so often. And then he'll get it beaten into him that he has to return to, I guess, the fundamentals, and he does well. The Fiziev fight was a great example of this, but the 4th round of this fight was a great example of this. When he started working behind the jab, he had success. It was the only round I gave him. Apparently, he was given the 2nd round on some cards, which I disagree with. Referencing just the strike numbers here, the UFC stats, here we go. The 2nd round saw Gaethje get outlanded 30-18. And you could argue that maybe he hit Holloway a little bit harder. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. He got staggered in that 2nd round, so it's not like he was getting hit by pillow fists here. He was. I pity for him because he got eye poked twice in the 2nd round, which was lame. But I get it. He buckled Max's leg during that round, but that was about it. I don't know. Are we just giving it? Are we just giving it to him on that matter? He also got his nose broken in the 1st round by a spinning heel kick by Max Holloway. 3rd round went Holloway's way again on the volume, and then the 4th round, which I was looking at, was the only round that Gaethje went even with him in significant strikes and total strikes, and actually had some things working, things off the jab actually worked. It's amazing to think if Gaethje had emphasized his jab from the start, this could have been a completely different fight with way more competitiveness and probably more entertaining. I don't know about the probably more entertaining part because this was pretty damn entertaining, but still. And then in the 5th round, we're going through here. We get a couple of kicks upstairs, spin kick to the body. Holloway had this lovely spin kick all night going on where he would just hit a thrust spinning kick to the body. It was beautiful. It was great. Right at the end of the fight, Holloway does the point to the center. Let's just go. Let's just scrap. And boom, 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 boom. Down goes Gaethje. Knockout. And your new BMF title, the title that still refuses to be defended, Max Holloway. Max Holloway doing a great job here. It was fantastic. It was honestly fantastic fight. Amazing work. Max Holloway called out Ilia Topuria afterwards. I am down for that, obviously. I think that's the fight that makes all the sense. I don't think that there's anything else. I know... don't get me wrong, Mozart Evelev has done very, very good things, but is that going to sell? No. Has he really earned it? I don't know. Does beating Arnold Allen get you a title shot? Because Max Holloway did that as well and didn't get a title shot, so I don't know. I would do Holloway versus Topuria. Gaethje, time off because his nose was messed up. And I don't have a particularly good one. Like I was looking down the rankings at lightweight, and I was just like, none of these really actually stand out as like, we got to do this fight. So, let him heal up. It'll probably take a bit and do his thing. So there you go. Fantastic fight. Amazing. I will say that the commentary again here was pretty bad because Rogan was on this line throughout the fight. It was basically from round 1 onwards that people had counted out Holloway, that people had turned away from Holloway, that they were not respecting Holloway's greatness. He was at plus 150 underdog. And I mean, maybe you can say that is, for a former UFC champion, best guy in his division for some time, that is somewhat disrespectful. But like, the way the commentary was, you would swear he was a plus 500 underdog or something. That this was like the biggest underdog pick in the world. I have said this before. I am not a fan of Rogan. I am not a fan of Cormier in the booth. If you loved them, you loved them. God bless you. It is entirely opinion driven as to what you enjoy in your commentary. I don't. And this will be my last note on the commentary, but like this fight and the Jan hype, those were probably the peak, like what I don't enjoy about this particular booth configuration. Sliding on down, well, we had the Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen Hall of Fame stuff. By the way, how is Michael Bisping in the Hall of Fame before Anderson Silva? How is any middleweight in the Hall of Fame before Anderson Silva? This Hall of Fame, like I've said it before, this Hall of Fame is really kind of a joke. But like that kind of drove it home for me. That really drove it home. So we have Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now, problem here, I missed like the first half of the first round. I understand that Charles Oliveira scored I think it was a slip from Arman. He fell down, and Charles Oliveira went for a guillotine choke, ended up on top, and so on. I tuned in with Oliveira on top, where my technical issues subsided. So I came in, Oliveira was on top, but I didn't see how he got there. And then Tsarukyan reversed him, ended up on top for like the entire second half of the first round. And I was like, well, from what I saw, Tsarukyan won that round, but I understand that Oliveira probably won that round. Anyways, round 2, this was all Tsarukyan. It was the round where he like basically was like, you know what if I'm just like on top of you and I'm going to pound away and I'm going to cut you up and I'm going to just kind of do Arman Tsarukyan things and outland you 38-12, even though there was a submission attempt in there. I think this was the round also where there was where was the kick? That was in the first. Illegal up kick by Oliveira, which I thought hit the shoulder and then glanced up into the chin. Personally, I think it's dumb rule, but whatever. Don't throw kicks when you're on the ground. There you go. That's the rule here. But there was a triangle choke in the second round that was not bad, but it was like too late. And then the third round, Oliveira comes out doing his thing. He's getting beat up, actually. He's getting beat up. Again, I want to refer to the numbers here. Tsarukyan, 18-7 in terms of significant and total strikes, had the takedown, 2 minutes top control, but he gets caught in a deep Darce choke by Charles Oliveira at the end of the round, and I don't want to say saved by the bell, because he popped right back up. Like, this was not a Zhang Yang, Weili Zhang situation where, like, I was pretty sure that they were out. This was immediately back up. Like in danger, don't get me wrong, but like not passed out, not seeing stars quite yet, and probably would have, if more time was on the clock, been more persistent about getting out of the choke. But that led me to score for Oliveira. He had the first round, was my understanding, and in the third round ended in a really, really bad spot. But I can kind of get why Tsarukyan won the third round probably. Hang on, let's before I say that. What were the actual scorecards? So Mike Bell had Oliveira winning the third and the first, agreed. And then Adelaide Bird and Ron McCarthy had the second and the third for Tsarukyan. Okay, yeah. No. I'm okay with that. I am perfectly fine with that, although I did score this for Charles Oliveira. That being said, it's a weird thing because the fight kind of went how I kind of thought it would be. That Oliveira would, in fact, have a lot of success in transition, and he did. But he didn't manage to get the finish that I figured he would need. And Tsarukyan, when he was on top and in control, was doing his things. Like, the second round is, how this fight could potentially go over and over and over and over again. By the way, anytime I wonder about why Saryukin's fighting at 155, despite having a 5'7" build, I just look at that man's thighs. Holy crap. Jeez, that is a monster right there. That is a monster of a human being as far as those thighs are concerned. Oh, God. Anyways, so it kind of went like all the ways I thought it could go. It doesn't devalue Oliveira, but it doesn't make me a believer in Saryukin at the same time. Like, I came into the fight like having doubts about Saryukin's boxing. I still have them. I have doubts about Saryukin's ability to handle transitional situations. I still have them. I like his kicks. His wrestling is obviously dope, but the problem is that I don't know how far does like just wrestling and kicks take you? Apparently, it's basically to a title shot, because if we weren't doing Makhachev versus Poirier, which got announced, then Saryukin would be fighting for the belt. That being said, he's not going to be, but I assume he'll probably sit on it, because if you look at the lightweight rankings here really quick, I don't usually reference the UFC rankings, but we're talking about a title shot. Lightweight. So you have Makhachev, Oliveira, who just lost. Gaethje, who just lost. Poirier's fighting for the belt. Saryukin. Then you're getting down to like Gamrot. We're not doing a Gamrot title shot. If Gamrot was going to get his title shot, it would have happened by now as a thank you for being the backup fighter for Oliveira versus Makhachev. That fell apart and then ended up being Volkanovski versus Makhachev. So, no. Then you're down to like Chandler, multiple fight losing streak, Dariush and Fiziev, and then like no. So Saryukin can sit. Like what do you do? What do you do? You're not going to put him against Gaethje. I don't think so. And Poirier's fighting for a belt. You're not going to rematch with Oliveira. So like, what are you going to do? A rematch with Gamrot? Like that? No, not interested. I'm doing Oliveira versus Gamrot for the record, because I think that one would be interesting, because Oliveira has a mystique about him that probably overstrips his actual guard skills, which again is a commentary theme that they do. They talk about how dangerous his guard is. And it's dangerous, don't get me wrong, but it's not that dangerous. It's transitions that Oliveira kills you in. And Gamrot will get those. Bo Nickel ended up, so here's the thing about Bo Nickel. And I've said this before. A lot of people are like, well, he's on a main card because he'll sell this fight to wrestling fans. Particularly, but like they're often talking about like older wrestling fans. People who have like been Penn State lifers sort of thing. And my response to that is like, why haven't they come along already? It's not like there isn't a ton of wrestlers in the history of the UFC. I mean, look at Bellator's whole thing of like bringing in high grade NCAA wrestlers to wrestle, and it did nothing for them. They ended up getting stock sold. Like the fact of the matter, and maybe this is just me being poisoned. Like I have a lot of wrestling family, essentially, like people who did wrestling, people who are involved in like local wrestling, high school coaches, and so on. And the thing is that like the ones that are not interested in it, they're just not interested. It's not for them. Like there's this kind of weird like idea that like every wrestling fan is an MMA fan. Really, they just have to be given somebody to cheer for. It's like no, we've had wrestlers forever. We've had Mark Coleman, who got to present the BMF belt at this card. Like legendary NCAA wrestlers are a fundamental part of the sport. Olympic wrestlers, Henry Cejudo, Olympic medalist. It just I don't think it'll drive business. And it just wasn't really an interesting fight, because Cody Brundridge is a guy who fundamentally, when you look at his wins, involves a lot of wrestling. So Bo Nickel straight up looked okay, but like a lot of this was just Bo Nickel doing wrestling against a guy who is a far, far worse wrestler than he is. Also, probably the problem here is that there were 12 significant strikes in this entire fight. There were more strikes because 45 to 33 was the official strike numbers. But yeah, this was it was the worst fight of the night, outside of maybe the Aljo fight we're going to talk about in a bit. But anyways, what's next for Bo Nickel? He talked about Fluffy Hernandez. He talked about Roman Kopylov. I wouldn't mind the Kopylov fight. Like, it feels like too big of a jump from Cody Brundridge, but like at the same time, it's like, this is middleweight. I want to see him fight a guy who has some kind of range game, who is going to force him, well, not even force him, but like test him in the sense of, what if I just don't like instantly move into shot range and let you shoot on me? And that's why I'm not like super big on the Hernandez fight, because don't get me wrong, like Fluffy's like building style and cardio attack and whatever. I just, it's good, it's great. He's the better fighter. He just beat Kopylov, but it does feel like a way better version of this matchup, but like the same sort of dynamic. It is somebody who fundamentally is built around there being wrestling in their fights when they win, and Bo Nickel will probably just out wrestle them. Now, Hernandez does have some guillotines and so on, famously choked out Rodolfo Vieira, so maybe there's something there, but I don't know. I want to see him against a striker who might be able to deny him, not the ability to take him down, but like the range to see what happens when he has moments where he's not at range to actually get his takedowns pretty much instantaneously. That would be nice. So that would be my goal. So Kopylov, he threw it out there. I'm not bad on that. Brunbridge, I didn't care. Man got manhandled by Jacob Malkoon. Like, what are we going to do here? Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. This was a pretty good fight. Rakic won the first round, I thought. He was working a solid calf game. He was keeping range pretty well, breaking it down, hitting counters against Yuri Prohaska when he got aggressive. And, it was pretty exciting, actually. It's kind of the thing. I was pushing back against people who, like, think Rakic is inherently boring. I don't think he's inherently boring. I just think that he's not inherently exciting. You put him in there with somebody who is going to make him work at a decent rate and who is not going to, I don't want to say get afraid, but how about this? Will not accept being just neutralized and controlled like Anthony Smith was. How's that? And they will come out and they will keep trying to do things, which was why I was pretty high on this fight, because Prohaska is going to try. Now, there was the chance that Rakic was just going to waste him as he was trying, and that kind of looked like how it was going. But Rakic does get hurt really, really badly. He's up against the fence. He tries to get a clinch, gets absolutely just thrown to the mat, thrown over onto the canvas, and then ground and pound. There was like a cattle mutilation, pro wrestling fans stand up, set up by Yuri Prohaska. Ends up getting elbows and punches from top. Rakic gives up his back, and eventually the referee steps in to stop this fight because he's just getting beat up. Yuri afterwards wants on Joe Rogan's podcast because Jamal Hill was on there. Have Yuri on the podcast, Joe. Have Yuri. He did admit that he's not a samurai, because that was like a big thing going into this, was that Rakic was like, he's not actually a samurai. He's like, no, I'm not a samurai. I'm a guy from the Czech Republic, I think he said. But it inspires him, and he wants a title shot. And I wouldn't give him a title shot. I would say he's one fight away from it. But you could put him up against Jamal Hill, and the winner of that will probably get a title shot. Just saying. And it's a fun fight. It's a fight that is kind of one where one of them is going home in a body bag, probably. For Rakic, I've got Nikita Krylov. I don't know why, but I just saw Nikita Krylov on the rankings. It was like, you know what? Something about that tickles something in my brain. I'm not entirely sure what, but something tickles me. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. This was not very, very good. It was... I want to give credit to Aljo. I do, because I think if there's a fighter that is the poster boy for like way too much unconditional hate from MMA fans, it's Aljamain Sterling. Like the whole Peter Yan thing comes to mind. Like, man, he took the easy way out. How about we get mad at the guy who fouled him? I don't know. And I'm not a huge fan. I've never been able to sink into the idea that he was like the best bantamweight in the world, even when he had the belt. I had that problem. But like a lot of things he gets blamed for aren't his fault. It's not his fault Dillashaw came in with no shoulder. It's not his fault that Peter Yan kneed him while he was on his knees praying. Like, it's just kind of weird. And frankly, there's a lot of people who suggest that there's probably a heavy racial connotation to that. Nah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of weird. Some of the same people that hate him love Jamal Hill, so it's a bit weird. I'm not sure I want to put it that way, but like outside of like the semi jackknife powerbomb in the third round, this was just not very good, and Calvin Kattar was the reason. nothing was really working. He didn't really commit to his strikes at any point. Calvin Kattar is a guy who is, generally speaking, a fairly high volume striker, and he landed 8 significant strikes and 0 in the third round, by the way. Single digit total strikes in the second and the third round. Got controlled. His usual good takedown defense was not there, which I was worried about that because I was like, you know what? He has a 91% takedown rating, but like he's also not really fighting wrestlers. And Aljamain Sterling, despite coming down from a weight class below, is a serious body lock wrestler. And that just wound up being the case. The grappling wasn't particularly interesting. And Aljamain took his victory and didn't even get a post fight. For Aljamain, I've got Arnold Allen next. And for Kattar, I've got Dan Ige because I guess I really just don't take Kattar all that seriously anymore. Still fun, but I'm not taking him seriously. Kayla Harrison, of course, beat up Holly Holm, did her thing. Holm is dumb. I don't know. Like it was weird that Holm was the one who just like gave away free clinches and got taken out. People are getting like conspiratorial about it. I'm like, nah, I just think she's dumb. She's utilized as she's gotten older, the clinch more and more and more as a weapon of her own because she's very, very strong and actually pretty good in the clinch for someone who comes from a striking background. But yeah, you can't do that with an Olympic judoka. As for everything else, like Harrison looked good. She did look reduced. As in, I think there's some muscle mass gone, which makes sense. Again, she was going down an extra 20 pounds from her normal and 10 from anything she'd ever done. So, obviously there was some reformulating the body, but like everything seemed to have worked out. She made the weight. She did not look great at the weigh-ins, but she did look great in the fight. So there you go. My concerns are alleviated. Although people were like, I don't know, there was a weird thing where like people were like, how dare you doubt Kayla Harrison? She's a professional. If she thinks she can make 135, she can. I'm like, this kind of ignores that like every fighter that ever tries a weight cut theoretically thinks they can do it. And sometimes it's a great idea, don't get me wrong. But like sometimes it's a terrible idea. And I can't think of really anyone who's gone down 2 weight classes at once and had it been a really, really good idea. So like, I don't know. I stand by my doubts. I lost. I'll take it like a man. But I do think that the whole like the Kayla hit squad of like, how dare you doubt her is still wrong. I've got Harrison for a title shot, although there was talk about like her versus Amanda Nunes, which would be also very, very cool. And for Holly Holm, I've got JDR too, because I think it's that time. They're both like they're both still very, very, very relevant. So you can hype up the fight as something cool. But like both of their recent fights, JDR's with Norman Dumont and this one with Kayla Harrison, indicates they're not title contenders at this point. They're out of that segment. And I don't know. It's a rematch that I'm honestly a little bit surprised hasn't happened already. Sodiq Yusuff got beat up by Diego Lopes like really, really quickly. Like I picked Lopes and I was shocked to see him just destroy him in a minute and a half. Whoa. His striking was just way too much. Just work this man. And big shout out there. Boom. Next up, I've got Lopes versus Yair Rodriguez because that would be insane and dope. I've got Yusuff against the winner of Joe Anderson Brito and Jack Shore. Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. Turner was looking good and probably should have finished this fight in the first round. He dropped Moicano. He did the walkaway thing. And I can understand not going down into Moicano's guard. Jalen Turner's had a really, really, really rough time grappling with people lately. But he, let him back up and then just didn't swarm. Did not swarm. That was my thing. Like people were like questioning the decision not to go to Moicano's guard. I wasn't. I was questioning the decision. You got to hurt, man. Go for the kill. Make it happen. And he did not do that. And then he got taken down in the second round and got pounded out by Renato Moicano. Big win for Moicano. He got to do his post-fight where apparently he's doing a podcast. He wants Joe Rogan to be on it. He's big on the First Amendment. He's big on private property, which is lame and playing to like every right-wing cliche known to mankind. They told him not to cuss, so he did it anyways. I don't know. I was really, really big on the initial Moicano wants money and the Moicano wants Patty stuff. I don't know. I guess it's gotten stale for me. It's just kind of like he's gone down the right wing rabbit hole, which people are like, oh, you just don't like him because his political beliefs. No, whatever. Have your political beliefs. I've long ago made peace with the idea that fighters have terrible views on society. Let's be honest. It's just kind of it's not necessarily repetitive because it is new every time, but like it's Moicano's going to pick some right wing talking point and yell crazily about it. And some people are just going to love it. It's an incredibly simple formula. So, hey, Moicano, you keep doing it, man. You keep doing it because, like, for a guy of his talents and, like, his fights, he is incredibly popular right now beyond the scope of his actual in-cage ability. So, go do it. Go make the Moicano podcast or Show Me the Money podcast. Whatever it is. Moicano I've got against Badil Dariush, and I've got Turner against Drew Dober because I don't want to see him grapple anymore. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Some judge scored this fight for Marina Rodriguez, and I don't really know why. I'm not saying it was like the cleanest performance in the world by Jessica Andrade because it wasn't. She barely outstruck her overall, but like she was able to hit Marina pretty hard and walk her down at times and also work the low kick game. Only went for one takedown somehow. They credited her with one takedown. I just don't know. I just don't know what 2 rounds you'd give her. Because I've got Andrade winning the third pretty clearly. I've got Andrade winning all 3 rounds, but like the second round is like somewhat of a toss-up. It was a round. I don't even know that because like how do you get outlanded by Andrade all 3 rounds in terms of total strikes and significant strikes in 2 out of the 3 and win? Like it's Jessica Andrade. Like you have to outwork Jessica Andrade. Like come on, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What was the sending card? Derek Cleary scored the second and the third round for Rodriguez. So the only round she actually outworked Andrade in, he gave Andrade. They all gave Rodriguez the third. What was the third? I don't have like strong thoughts on this fight. There was a spinning back fist in there. That was cool. Took Rodriguez down off a caught kick. Let her up. Flurry against the fence. Rodriguez went for the power guillotine, I guess. I don't know. I don't even really see this as the best one here. Okay, I got to pick at Rogan one more time. He was talking about Rodriguez having like a fluid jab and looking great. And my comment here was, Joe, who's paying you? Who's paying you from Rodriguez's camp? I don't know. I don't know how you get that round even to Rodriguez. I don't. Maybe that'll be one to like kind of a future watch along fight where I watch the fight and I score it live, and we like kind of go off of that instead of like my day after notes here, where like certain fights kind of fade from memory because I'll be honest, this fight did kind of fade from my memory a little bit, but I don't know. Next up for Andrade, I have Virna Jandiroba, although Virna Jandiroba is one of the few title contenders that Weili Zhang hasn't fought. So I don't know, maybe you keep her away from her. And for Rodriguez, I've got Carla Esparza, number 2. Jim Miller versus Bobby Green was largely Bobby Green having his way. I gave the first round to Jim Miller, and just barely. And let's see, what were the cards here? It looks like 2 judges did give Miller the first round. Yeah, okay. So Tony Weeks and Chris Lee had my card basically, although Tony Weeks gave 10-8s in the second and the third. I'm not honestly sure if I'm down with that. I am about the extra 10. I don't know. I guess he did triple him up and quad him up. This is a sad one for Miller fans. Maybe that's why I didn't want to give 10-8s because I am a big fan of Jim Miller. Also, I'm thinking I probably should not have given him the first round because I'm looking at the numbers now and it's 43-17. So if I was a official judge for this one, I would fully expect to be called out for giving Miller a round. He just knocked Green over in the first round. I think that's what got me. But it was like just kind of a clattered into awkward one. So there was that. I don't know. Looking at the numbers, I am not sure that I could really justify giving him that because like realistically, it was just over a knockdown that I don't really think was actually a knockdown. So there you go. But Bobby Green did his thing. It was kind of like I thought it would. Bobby Green is really, really hard to engage in wrestling. He is really, really hard to out wrestle. And when he's on his game and he's not fighting you too closely and losing like split decisions and stuff, he's an incredibly slick boxer. After the fight, I do take issue with this. So Green gets on the mic and he's talking about his like his street backstory, basically. And I appreciate that. I understand that fighting has made him more money than probably at any point in his life Bobby Green could have pictured. Probably if you go back even to like the age of 30 and said, Bobby Green at 37 years old, you're going to be on UFC 300, you're going to be making however much money he's making, he probably would have laughed. Probably would have seemed like a dream. And I appreciate that. I understand that. This is not an anti-UFC thing, but at the same time, I'd like to thank the UFC for giving me this chance and whatever. It's like, my dude, they made money off you. They made insane amounts of money off you. This is not even like a fighter pay stance. This is a company with an insane profit margin. That's the thank you. You go out there, you get beaten up or beat people up for entertainment, which then leads to money going to the UFC. That's the relationship. I don't think the corporation that employs me. Like, you just like, what are we doing here? Called out Patty, but I think Dan Hooker on a rebooking would be better. Miller versus Rafa Garcia. And then Davidson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, which again, stunning that this was an opener for a pay-per-view card. Not a pay-per-view main card. Pay-per-view card, period. Insane. Dope. Figueiredo ending up with the rear naked choke when he decides to kind of go with a low output and wrestle heavy performance, which was a bit weird for a guy who, is a quote unquote natural flyweight. He made the belt motion after the fight. You're not getting a title shot off of Cody Garbrandt. I am sorry. And I don't really foresee at any point this guy being the champion at this division. He's just like, he's 5'5". Like it's just a bit much. He looked good. He looked good, although the first round was a little bit too heavily in favor of Garbrandt. Like, I scored the first round for Garbrandt, which is... It's weird that I'm scoring rounds for Garbrandt in 2024 against, like, decent opponents, but, like, he just outworked them. Like, I don't know. How do you win a bantamweight round when you throw 15 strikes and go for 3 takedowns, I guess? I don't know. It was a bit of a weird performance, but, like, one that got the job done, so what can I complain about? For Figueiredo, I've got Marlon Vera. For Garbrandt, I don't know. He's a broken fighter. They're going to probably try and find him someone he can beat, but like that isn't like off the Contenders series, I assume. I don't really know what to do with him. Cuz like it's kind of weird cuz like he's not physically washed in the way that like someone like he was in the crowd. So someone like a BJ Penn who like was just completely physically done, or a Tony Ferguson. It's just Garbrandt cannot fight the way he wants to fight and win. And he seems to refuse to come to terms with that. Shout out to Julian in the Discord who picked up the Fight Masters prediction battle victory. And not on the event, but like she actually did really terrible on UFC 300. But she is overall the champion. And down below there are links to my social medias, my video game stuff, the Discord server where you can talk fights and take a look at the fight simulator. And that is all. I will see you for what am I seeing you guys for? I think it's not very good. PFL 3. Oops, sorry. That is my phone. PFL 3 is coming up on April 19th, Korshkov versus Umaledov, Logain versus Carvalho, Storley versus Musayev, pardon me. I don't know why I want to add an F there every time. It's happened with multiple fighters from that area. Gabriel Alves Braga versus Justin Gonzalez. That's a cool fight. Neiman Gracie versus Goto Yamuchi, Bubba Jenkins versus Kai Kamaka III, Adam Boric versus Enrique Barzola, Timur Kizriev versus Brett Johns. That's pretty fun. Leonardo Staropoli versus Murab Ramazanov, Zach Dusola, who I think is the absolute like here to lose dude in the PFL tournament against Luka Poklet, Tyler Diamond versus Otto Rodriguez, Brennan Ward versus Don Madge. It's not a bad card, not bad at all. And then we get a week off for the UFC, so PFL gets center stage. And I hope you enjoyed UFC 300. I'm not going to say it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, But it was a really, really, really good card. And one of the better ones we'll probably see all year long, if not somewhere on the all-time rank.